All right, let's jump right in. If you're a parent or an educator, you know the Individualized Education Program, the IEP, is absolutely crucial. But let's be real, it can also feel like this incredibly complex maze of legal jargon and paperwork. So today, we're going to demystify the whole thing. We're going to find the one key that unlocks it all.
So, what even is an IEP at its heart? Well, it's a written plan, sure, but it's so much more than that. It's a legally binding document. It's the official blueprint that guarantees a student with a disability gets what the law calls a free and appropriate public education, or FAPE for short.
Now, an IEP is this big, comprehensive thing with like over 10 major sections. It covers everything from goals to specific services. So let me ask you, if you had to pick just one section, which one do you think is the most important? What's the real foundation of the entire plan? Think about it for a second.
Because that's exactly what we're about to uncover. We are going to pinpoint the single most critical piece of the puzzle that literally drives every other part of a good, effective IEP.
And here it is. This quote says it all, doesn't it? The present levels is what controls the rest of the IEP. It's not the goals, it's not the list of services, it's the present levels. This right here is the keystone. What this means is that this one section, and it has a long formal name, the Present Levels of Academic Achievement and Functional Performance, or PLAFP, it sets the baseline. It's the you are here marker on the map. Everything else, and I mean everything, all the goals, the accommodations, the services, it's all built directly on top of this foundation. Of course, a plan this important doesn't just write itself. It's put together by a whole team of people. You can think of them as the architects who are designing this blueprint for success. So, who's on this team? It really is a team effort. You've got the parents or guardians, a representative from the school district, the students' general and special education teachers, and any other related service providers. It's this whole group bringing all their different perspectives to the table that makes the plan truly, well, individualized. Okay, so we know who the architects are, and we know what the foundation is. Now let's pull back and look at the whole blueprint. What are the major parts you'll actually see inside an IEP? So first up, you've got the basics, like identifying info. And what do you see right there again? The present levels. See? It's always the starting point. From there, the plan details any special factors, and it'll map out plans for things like behavior or transitioning to life after high school. It all flows directly from what's established in those present levels. And the blueprint keeps going with the real action-oriented stuff. This is where you find the specific, measurable goals the student is working on. It lists all the supports and accommodations they'll get in class and the exact services they'll receive. It even lays out how parents will be kept in the loop. And are you noticing the pattern here? None of this is just made up out of thin air. It all has to connect right back to that foundational present level section. In that connection, it's not just a nice suggestion, it's a legal requirement. There's a really clear logic that holds the whole thing together. You can think of these as the golden rules for connecting all the dots. And this lays it out perfectly. Rule number 1, if you identify a weakness in a present levels, you have to create a goal and a support for it. It's a must. And rule 2 is just the flip side. If there's a goal or a support in the IEP, you have to be able to point right back to the specific weakness it's addressing. The other rules are just as key. The whole plan has to be totally unique to that child, and it needs to paint a really clear picture of them. All right, since we've established that the present level section is the absolute bedrock of the IEP, let's really dig into it. What actually goes into this section to make it strong, accurate, and, actually useful? A really solid present levels section is made up of 5 key ingredients. It needs all the data from evaluations and assessments. But, and this is important, it also has to highlight the student's strengths. It's not just about deficits. Then it defines their needs, brings in parental concerns, and clearly explains the impact of the disability. Now, what's so powerful here is the idea that the data has to tell a story. It can't just be a cold list of test scores. It needs to be a rich summary of everything, evaluation results, scores, performance levels, that all come together to create a narrative about where that student is right now. And defining student needs, this is another place where people can get tripped up. A need is not a laundry list of all the grade level standards a student hasn't mastered. No. It's a description of the actual barrier, the thing that's preventing the student from getting the same results as their classmates. It really gets to the why behind the struggle. And this is a big one. The plan must include parental concerns. This isn't just a box to check off during the annual meeting. It should be the result of a real, ongoing conversation all year long about schoolwork, about behavior, about the future. It makes sure that the parents' deep knowledge of their own child is baked right into the plan from the start.
Let's talk about what this source calls the most misunderstood section, the impact of the disability. This part has to be super specific. It's not enough to just name the disability. You have to connect the dots and describe how specific characteristics of that disability, like say short-term memory issues or struggles with organization, actually affect the student's performance in a real classroom setting.
Which brings us to what I think is the ultimate test for any IEP, and it's summed up perfectly in this quote. When a new teacher, a new therapist, anyone picks up this document, they should be able to read it and get a clear, three-dimensional picture of the student. They should feel like they actually know this child. So when you think about it, an IEP isn't just a boring legal document. It's really the start of a story, a student success story for that year. So that leaves us with one last question to think about. How can you, whether you're a parent or an educator, make sure that all-important first chapter, the present levels, is written so well that it sets up a fantastic story to follow?